Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnikins on this Wednesday morning as we continue our spotlight on the Brenner family farm just outside of Durand, right off of Highway 10. Thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin for supporting our monthly spotlights. And this morning, we continue our conversation. We're going to talk with Tom about how he protects the soil, because where we're at, I don't even think the driveway is flat when driving in, and because there's just a lot of slope out here, and you know exactly where I'm talking about. And Tom, it's very pretty. This has got to be very beautiful in the fall, but it makes it very challenging. I know one of the things you're probably doing is you're doing some of the contour type of farming. The reason I say that is I can look outside and see some rows of corn, and then I see a break, and then I see some corn, and then I see another break. That's probably one of the biggest things you do out here because of the slope, right?
Yeah, and that all started with my dad. When I was, it was before I was in high school. He started working with a lot of no-till. So in the early to mid '90s, he was basically trying to figure out all that and move away from the tillage that used to be done. So he's been working hard at that for quite a long time, and it just kind of made sense to me. So when I started farming, it was the easiest way to go into it, and you know he already proved that it could work. So it was kind of easy to follow in those footsteps.
And now the type of soil, is it heavier or is it lighter, or is it like a lot of places in Pepin County? One row's heavy, the next row's light. One row's heavy, and the next row's light. I mean, that's how it seems, depending on the field. But what primarily do you have? Do you have more of a heavier type of soil?
No, not around here. It's loam would be the heaviest that it gets, but for the most part, it's sandy loam or maybe a touch on the sandier side. There's some shale veins, so some of the soil can be pretty thin. So no tilling, trying to have cover crops, trying to keep soil where it's supposed to be so it can, treat the next generation nice too is our goal.
And that's something that you've worked closely with Extension, that the cover crops. Before we were going to do this interview, he's out cutting rye, but is rye one of your primary cover crops?
Yeah, rye is an easy staple. It kind of just works wherever you are. I don't think it would matter if you were in Argentina or Siberia. Rye is going to grow at some point in the growing season. It's kind of bulletproof. So if anyone out there is looking to get into the cover crops, just you don't need to worry about a 12-way mix. Baby step it in. Use some cereal rye.
Now, do you use that then on the farm, or how, do you try to sell it, or what or do you just cut it and just leave it back into the field for more organic matter and to hold water?
Well, the rye that I save for combining, it usually just goes right back in for cover crop seed for that fall after corn or beans come off. So, if it's a drought year, rye is kind of a savior for me in the spring for forage. It's as long as you can be aggressive cutting it, you can get some quality forage, but it's a smaller window, so you got to be on your game.
And that small window, and that's for the proper feed quality, because you have to, again, all of this goes back to the cows.
Yeah. If you need rye, well, there's a reason you need rye because it's dry. If you're taking it for forage, so if you want to feed dairy quality feed, it's a small window, and I have a custom harvester help who has been pretty awesome to me. There's Sam is kind of like his bigger customers are on super heavy ground, and I'm on light ground. It's Sam's been great to me.
How important? Obviously, you use alfalfa as a pretty major forage, but how important is that in the whole scheme of protecting the soil for you think?
Well, anytime you can have a perennial on the soil, there's hardly. I mean, it's just a plus. So, alfalfa is a great forage for the dairy cows. The protein's great. The fiber that comes with it balances well with corn silage. You know, our nutritionist is just he'd rather work with alfalfa and corn silage than any of the other crazy mixes I've thrown him at over the years. So,
like that rye.
Yeah, that rye or this cocktail mix that I've used on a few acres over the years to build up forage inventories.
So, and at the same time, that's the nice part of it. It's perfect for the cows and it's perfect for the soil because it is that perennial. It holds everything in place throughout the winter, and it also protects the water at the same time because it's nitrate fixating.
Yeah, you know, alfalfa is a plant that, whether you believe it or not, is working for you 365 days a year. When it's under snow cover, there's still activity going on underneath the ground. So anytime that you have live working soil, that's a major benefit to water quality around Pepin County. So I would encourage everyone to think about getting something on their soil 365 days a year and letting it go to work for you.
Along with the rye, have you tried other cover crops, or is rye kind of the one that is your go-to?
Yeah, I've tried quite a few things. There's some guys doing some pretty interesting things in Little Pepin County. After I combine cereal rye, I come back with some clover mixes, and I'm probably not the world's greatest combine operator, so I always have a little bit of uh, rye growing back behind the combine. But those clovers that go in there, that's going to come into the next corn crop. And when you're combining in August, it's got a lot of time to grow that fall, and that clover is going to live over the winter and grow that spring. You can have some pretty serious green manure for your next corn crop. And it fixed a bunch of nitrogen from the air. It's tying things up in the soil. It's consuming the things that you left out there from the previous year's applications, and it's really all positive when you're trying to grow something 365 days a year. You might have to manage something particular in the spring, and I've learned some lessons there too. But having something growing, it helps me, helps all the neighbors and other community members in Pepin County.
Talking with Tom Brenner with Brenner Family Farm just outside of Durand. We're going to continue our conversation tomorrow about more about how the farm helps to protect that water with those cover crops, and some of the things that Tom does as well. He's part of a watershed group here in Pepin County, the Farmers for Health watershed group. We're going to talk with Tom a little bit about some of the volunteer and work that he does with that to help improve water quality as well here in Pepin County. As we spotlight the Brenner Family Farm with Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin all this week, I'm Brian Winnekins. You're listening